She-Hulk episode 3. This is probably one of the best episodes I have ever seen on TV. No, I'm serious. This was a great episode.
No, same.
You have good jokes, good build up, and it's only 27 minutes. This Wong build up when you're like waiting for him to come, play with the feeling. You're like, okay, he's supposed to be the savior. Where are you? Where are you? I'm waiting for you. They had 2 lawyer cases. They connected them, and they were actually like law cases. It's not like they were just like made it quickly, like, oh, you're guilty, you're not guilty. Like she played it very well. The build up was good. The jokes were nice. How he really thought he was gonna date NIC Stallion, and then after the case ended, he's like, "Oh, that's the real one. Maybe I do have a chance.
Maybe I should. Should I go say something to her? Do not approach her by any means. Don't ever interact with her. It's funny that is like a real person. That is someone who is like, dude, I could have sworn I was talking to Beyonce. She had her profile picture and everything. And it's like, bro, you really think you're talking to a multimillionaire, like international celebrity? Like, why would you think you're just? But of course, someone's gonna get scammed.
Well, the irony is at the end of it, like Megan Thee Stallion retained She-Hulk as a lawyer. She's like, "You're my second lawyer. You're way cooler than the first one."
I'm hoping that she remains like a long term, or at least a couple more episodes. Like I would love to see Megan Thee Stallion like kind of just goofing around in the show because she's such a funny person. Like as she's like charismatic and funny, and so it's funny to have her in the episode. Like there's no way she could be in the dramatic role. She is guaranteed comic relief just by not even being like the butt of a joke. Ha, get it? The butt of a joke, Meg Thee Stallion. But like just being herself. And if I'm not gonna get points for puns, then what am I doing here?
So what do y'all think of Wong and the way he was introduced? The way she said, "Oh, this is not a cameo. This is like a real thing." And it was like she was driving, and I'm like, okay, she stopped driving, and the car was moving, and I was like, okay, what's happening now? It was so funny and real.
I loved that scene because in some of these shows, like a lot of Marvel and Star Wars shows, we do get cameos from really big names and really big people. And sometimes it's like, oh, I hope we don't get into that too much. And then I'm let down later on. So it's really cool that she legitimately addresses it and then is like, wait, no, we've definitely had cameos every episode. But it is my show.
The meta, the fourth wall breaking and like referencing real life, the real world effects of this show or of the comic is such a staple of the She-Hulk comic series itself. Very, very frequently in the comics will She-Hulk address the audience, or will show like reference how like certain like rulings or social behaviors like are influenced or mentioned in her storyline. And so for them to do that here, for her to literally like talk about, oh yeah, we have cameos all the time, but wait a minute, it's my show, like don't worry about it. It's not only Rev talking to the audience, but like talking about the mechanics of the TV show itself. And the same thing for the social media posts. My favorite part of that episode is where they posted these social media posts of people talking smack about She-Hulk. No more superhero women. Or it's like, if she is, what was the one? If She-Hulk twerks, I'm gonna die. And like legit the next episode, they're like, no. We heard what you said, but what we're saying is we don't care. We're putting it on the show. It's so funny. It's so I'm just curious what else they're going to do. Think of all the meta and all the meta jokes and all the quirks that the MCU has established over the next couple decades. Like they can bring up so many things. If you think for 1 minute they're not going to reference like Tony Stark died for this kind of thing, you're so wrong. A very self-aware shows that the writers are in touch. These are not out of touch writers in their ivory tower writing their magnum opus hoping that it changes the world. These are people who know what's funny and they're making things funny. These are real posts. These aren't all actors. These are people who are like, dude, this show's gonna suck. And they use their clips. Imagine getting ratioed by the show you were insulting.
But how did they do it? Were they like from the first couple of episodes and then you just cut it in for the third one, or
they most likely just went online and like recorded them and then edited them and then threw them in the episode? If it happened, it happened very, very later. I would not even be I mean, it's not even far from the imagination to imagine that it happened within a week. They could probably have that footage uploaded on Disney Plus like within a few hours, for sure. The technology is definitely there.
Krystal, go ahead.
I mean, the haters gave so much content to use. It's hilarious. It's making fun of the people who just comb through the weird, do mental gymnastics to find an issue with a really good TV show. We get it. It's a female superhero. We get it. We've heard it before. We're gonna hear it again. But for me, I'm really enjoying the show. She's cool. She's funny. I want to see what's next. I can't wait for this 4th episode.
Yeah, I actually think Jennifer Walters is a pretty likable character. I think episode 1, her and her cousin Bruce like going at each other made them both kind of annoying, but that's because they're kind of like two cousins who are being annoying with each other. They're like bickering and arguing. But her by herself is like a functional, quirky 30-year-old functional adult who like has her stuff together and now also has superpowers. So now has to function with it, has to deal with this. I think she's cool. I think she's pretty funny, and it's also shown that how well the character's written, how well the actor has acted this character, is that all the other characters line up with this character. Like there's no one's stealing the show from her, except every single cameo she brings in, then they steal the show. It's cool. It's cool. It's a cool show, and it's very well written. I think the writing,
very well written.
I'm really shocked at how well this dialogue flows together, how connected everything is, how nothing's really wasted.
Very good pacing.
Very, very, very good.
Like they cover a lot in 27 minutes. That's not easy. Like we talked like two. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite scenes it's so small is when they're trying to get a hold of Wong, and She-Hulk's assistant is like, oh yeah, I catfished him, and she's like, I said I'm a librarian, and then we see Wong's LinkedIn, and it's just a 2-second like look at that. It's so hilarious.
It said he was a
sorcerer,
a salesman, a social salesman, and then a librarian, and then the Sorcerer Supreme. Your work history is all over the place, Wong. You don't have any direction. Give Wong's LinkedIn a 3 out of 5. Look at the target sales associate.
He's been a librarian for 11 years in Nepal.
I'd follow him on LinkedIn.
His network is Bruce. He has 110 connections. I can only imagine they are immediate Avengers and Avengers family only. Some Shield agents, a couple sorcerers, and necromancer.
And that's the beauty of this show. Like they give you a lot of things in this one shot only.
They do that often, actually. The way the set design is also very, very well done. And it just feeds the story. Again, that initial scene in the first episode where they scroll out of her when she's giving her speech, and you see all these knickknacks and all her books and all her awards and her diplomas on the wall. It's telling you a story about this person as it's literally panning out and explaining it. I mean, they do this a couple of times. They do it with Bruce's bar. They show a lot of the knickknacks, a lot of his souvenirs from his times as like a superhero. It's just really well done. It shows that the people who made the show not only care about the show, but also really understand the character of She-Hulk, or who she is like as a character. And I mean, even translated from the comics, like that's always a big disconnect, right? The comics or comic book fans are always mad at the movies because they're not directly related, or they're not a faithful, reflection. But that's not always necessary. But when it does happen, they're still not happy. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you say you just don't like the She-Hulk, then just say that. So you don't like the character. It'd be like complaining about Spider-Man movie. You'd be like, oh, so you don't like Spider-Man? Like all the Spider-Man movies are good. Effectively.
Usually, like I'm scrolling through the timeline of the episode. They did a really great job. There's a lot of things, man, in 27 minutes. You have the social media, the journalists, the 2 lawyer cases, and there's an introduction to them. So there's this guy, like there's a lot of time spending on the guy who's doing the Megan Thee Stallion case, and he's like, oh no, I'm not an idiot to waste $200,000. It was 175. And then you see this lawyer case evolve, and you actually feel for him, like, oh, he's really genuinely that stupid to the point where he gave that money to the to the fake person.
I can see it happening. We're ding dongs. We're idiots.
And then they bring Jennifer Walters in as a witness to mention that this guy is delusional and it's very possible for him to lose it. And the lawyer, I don't know if he wasn't a really good actor or he was specifically chosen to be that goofy and that that interesting. So he was like asking her these questions, and he's like, I don't know if it was overacting, it was just like purposeful that that's how they wanted to portray him. But it was really nice and funny. And then she has her own lawyer case, and there's a part that I think people didn't notice, which is the build-up for Wong coming, because Wong is the only person who's gonna save him from staying in jail, right? But he's late. And this is interesting because you kind of feel for Emil Blonsky at this point, even though he's the villain, like you want him to get out because it was Wong's fault. So you kind of feel for him. But Wong's not here. And you as an audience member, you have this feeling like, oh, it's a build-up inside of you.
Yeah.
They really played with us. So like, okay, where's Wong? I'm waiting for Wong.
I
Wong,
love that.
Where are you, Wong? Okay, Wong's here. I'm like,
exactly. You're like relieved. I love that they told us in the first episode that this is a lawyer show. And like, so when you say lawyer show, my mind goes to like How to Get Away with Murder and Law and Order. Like those are my lawyer referencing shows. When I think about, oh, how's a courtroom work? Like I'm like, what would Annalise Keating do? And so it's cool to see like the ambiguity or like the gray area sometimes of law. Like Emil Blonsky, like clearly abomination, a evil Hulk. Like saying these things makes me say, oh, that's a villain. But then he pleads his case. He's like, I was hired by the U.S. government to stop a rampaging monster, and now I'm in jail and he's a hero. What happened? And like, that's a fair point. Like, wait a second, they did hire him. The U.S. government did send him to wreak havoc in the city. Is he a murderer who went on a rampage on his own? Of course, most certainly. But it's cool to have that argument and to take it into a courtroom and then have to defend that perception or that worldview is just really cool. I'm interested to see what other kind of things they do with that, because again, in these courtroom dramas, which is saying what the show is is maybe going to be, I wonder what other kind of characters they can bring in to like walk that line. The elf, the little changeling elf, was kind of annoying. So I think you're just annoyed with this character overall, but like her enemy is a douchebag. So you want her to win. Like you don't care if he loses. But it would be cool to see like maybe like a Hydra agent who's been like, what I'm saying? Anything they could. That's what I'm saying. They can reference anything. It's the law. Think of how many times the Avengers break the law and never comes up. Of course, it never comes up. It's a superhero movie. You can't get tied up in litigation of law in a 2-hour movie. That's boring. No one wants to hear that. Talking about it is boring. But in a lawyer show, you can make it a dramatic courtroom drama. You can bring in some really cool references, especially when you're doing cameos every week. Marvel.
And even like not on the flip side, but kind of on the corner side of that, when one of the people on the panel is like, Wong, you just admitted to a felony, and he's like, of the mystic arts, and pieces out.
oh my god.
On that note, I'll take my leave and just disappear.
Yeah, they did cover a lot. And then there's part where like they assumed she was dating Abomination or sleeping with them or whatever. That's like,
Yeah,
they literally covered everything, like all the sexist part, that all the thinking you have whenever a woman is doing something. And then like, oh, were you rejected by the Avengers? Oh, whatever that you were doing. Like, it's just so funny. So efficient.
I try to think of like, all right, what other sexist or misogynist questions do women get asked in workplaces? And I'm like, now what other jokes are they going to make based on this? So it's like, all right, did you sleep with someone to get this position? She's gonna get thrown across, you're gonna get thrown to the moon. Did you sleep with Abomination? All right, you're now a pancake. Like it's so funny because anytime someone says anything stupid, she's just like, okay, and like flips them across the room. And I'm like, you're playing with fire right now. She's clearly the strongest person in the room. Time and time again.
They gave it to a woman. I think there's a clip, I'm pretty sure that I heard a small clip of someone who was like, yeah, I think I'd still hit it. Like, yeah.
Oh my god.
So the
but
next
to your
episode,
point, like at the end, these dudes run up on her and want to challenge her because she's the female Hulk. And she's like, what do you mean I've been strutting? Like, no, I haven't. I've been at work. What are you talking about? They try to fight her.
How dare you walk down the street as a woman? Not on my watch, partner. Get the power tools out. We're gonna beat her to death.
Of the mystic arts.
I love Wong. I love that Wong is almost like the Ned, but like an older, more established Ned. and will always be like a character they can just reference or drop in for like 5 minutes and will immediately make everyone in the audience happy. Like I've yet to find I hate Wong post anywhere online, and I think there's a reason for that. They made a very loving character, this stupid lady.
It's always funny how like journalists, it's kind of us here, like when they have nothing to talk about, they just like describe what happened, and what happened is like so non-describable because there's nothing there. She's like, oh, Jennifer Walters just walked past by, like we know that, we just saw this, you know.
Jennifer Walters, alias for She-Hulk, storms out of a high security prison without clearance, and it's like, well, yeah, you can just leave because she's not under arrest, so like you don't have to say it like that. Like
it's hilarious because that's what happens IRL. People will just like state something that happened, just fluff it up a bit, and all of a sudden it's clickbait, and it's like, it was actually not a big deal. Yeah, she walked away from the building she was in. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I love that she cooks him. She's like, oh yes, he is an idiot and would easily fall for this idiotic, stupid
Doesn't he try to object?
I object. Well, you can't. So anyway, New York 10 and LA 11. I'm calling the police. The Dentisphere. It just sucks. It's hard to write jokes. It's hard to be funny. I think a lot of people think it's easy to be funny because they might be someone who is like situationally funny, or they're in an environment where they are trusted and understood by other people, and so they understand that comedy in that environment. So people think they're funny, or they think they know funny until they have to like write a joke down and make someone laugh. And it's much harder now because now you have to play to an audience. So writing jokes in and of itself is hard, but like writing funny dialogue interactions, that is really challenging because you have to know who you're talking to, and it has to be universal. But it also, it's like a connection. Comedy, like psychologically, like there has to be a connection that's disconnected, and when the connection is made, that's when the joke hits. That's the punchline. If the connection's not made, you don't get the joke. And so throughout this entire show, they're just building these connections for you. You know what a douchebag is. You know what a guy who thinks he's in the LA 11 is, like someone who's far too full of themselves. And it's like, okay, like this is a person I can relate with. You know who Meg the Stallion is. Everyone loves her. She's a goddess. Okay, so it's on the table. Like that's who this is. Oh, this is a lawyer. Maybe these people can't be trustworthy, but if they're on your side, you kind of have to go with them. So like you're already establishing all these character tropes and all these things that are really like prerequisites for the audience. And they do it so smoothly and so like flawlessly.
It's funny how like they overdid the joke with him and Megan Thee Stallion, because they actually bring her to the court, and after the court case is done and she roasts the hell out of him, he's like, that's the real Megan Thee Stallion. Maybe I do have a show.
And it could also, I heard someone say, or I didn't hear them say, I read it. They're like, it's kind of corny that she was in the audience of the courtroom and she like said something like, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, is it though? Like that's part of the whole joke. It's kind of funny. Like
someone was pretending to be her. That's kind of her problem.
Yeah, she's a brand.
It's interesting though, right after the scene you just played, doesn't that dude give She-Hulk an idea? He mentioned something about how like, oh, he doesn't want this to happen again. He wishes there was a way to like just protect people by like, I forget what he says, something about like regulating their abilities. And so She-Hulk breaks the fourth wall again and is like, did he just give me an idea? That'll stay between us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think
it's funny how like the fourth wall breaking is it's exposition, but because you don't expect it, and it's like really cut, you actually enjoy it, and you're oh wow, that was funny, that's interesting, you know, like I feel the editor had so much work to do and had so much effort put in to get all these cuts in such a smooth flow. Like they put work on this show. That's why it's a really good show. That's not easy, man.
Clear effort and clear quality. Yeah, it's like I wish we had for powers.
Yeah. Also, I want to take a pause here. Where is this located? Where are we?
LA.
California. It's LA.
It's LA.
Okay. I'm just taking notes. We have some we have lawyers in a few places here, and we have superheroes in need of lawyers here. So I'm just very interested to see where that goes. We saw some chunks in No Way Home.
Indeed. I also think that a lot of No Way Home, actually no Way Home. Sorry, I'm doing this wrong. Spider-Man and Daredevil are New York superheroes.
Yeah.
Whereas Jennifer Walters currently in this story is in Los Angeles. However, it's 2022. You can travel across the country, so I don't think it's out of the way for us to assume that we might run into a Matt Murdock Daredevil kind of lawyer type situation in a lawyer show with a lawyer. So there, I mean, that's
or another movie that takes place in New York, and we might need to consult with, the lead expert in Los Angeles.
right. Exactly.
I know that Miss Marvel is in New Jersey and Miss Marvel is going to college soon. So I had this idea that maybe Spider-Man and Miss Marvel are going to the same college and something happens.
I think Miss Marvel's going to end up with Captain Marvel, and we just need to just be for that, because I don't even.
I'm excited for all of that. Any of it. I'll take it.
Okay. So elephant in the room. We kind of opened up with it as like a joke, and I mean, it's definitely like it is just that. It's just like funny, but I think a lot of people were really, really offended for whatever reason by this twerking, and I just don't get it. Like, what are they hurt by? It's one, first and foremost, it's Meg the Stallion, so you're welcome. Second of all, this is CGI. This is a giant green CGI human animal beast. It could be doing kick flips on a skateboard, and it would just be fantastical and weird. I don't understand what the big hurt is, like, regarding this. I'm just a little confused. Stupid.
I mean,
It's
I
like
think it's just
seconds.
you're a video game developer. They probably use like some video game aspects to do all of that.
So it's actually really funny you say this. I'm going to make this joke as PG-13 as possible. But there is a genre of online 3D videos that are explicit but very high quality, because the artist put a lot of effort into this. And so one of the major jokes was like, they should have had one of the 3D hentai artists do the twerking, and it's just like, no, please, yuck, please shut up, don't give the internet ideas, one, and two, I don't ever want to hear or see that typed again.
All right.
We don't.
Any final comments?
The show's good.
It's really good,
I'm
man.
really surprised at how
it's on the way to be a 10 out of 10. It's on the way to. I don't want to jinx it, but
really cool show.
Yeah,
I like Miss Marvel. I really thought it was really cool. They introduced a lot of cool stuff, and I felt like a lot of the cultural lore they delivered was really incredible. I like Captain America Winter Soldier. Like, that was cool. Or Captain Falcon Winter Soldier.
Falcon, yeah.
Captain American Falcon. Black American Captain Falcon.
Soldier Winter.
Black American Falcon, Black Captain Falcon, Black Falcon. Whatever his name is, it's all together now. I think that show was cool in that they showed us the aftermath, and the way America tried to fix the lack of having a Captain America. I think that was just a really cool take on a perception of America. I think this is your lighthearted show. I think they finally given us. No, I'm for real. I really think they've given us. This is your lighthearted show. Will this progress and lead you to the next phase of Marvel? Believe it. For sure. They put Hulk in space again.
What did I say?
What did I say about Order of Hulk, bro? We talked about this. It's a possibility. It's very, very, very real. It's right around the corner. They're teasing it. Marvel doesn't tease things. They're showing you. They're giving you hints. They're like, hey, this is what we could potentially do. Hint, hint, wink, wink, stomp on the floor. I think this is going to be one of these lighthearted shows. They're going to give us a lot of cool characters, a lot of cool development for things. But I don't think it's going to be a WandaVision Loki kind of thing where oh, no. we're going to unpack some major universal mechanics on you right now, like multiverse travel and whatnot.
I don't know why you would think that, honestly. This is a Marvel show. Thank you. I'm not sure if you've watched the same things I've watched over the last year and some change, but everything has been bananas and crazy and has changed everything we knew about Marvel. The one thing I really like about She-Hulk is I don't know where it's going. And for the other shows, I wasn't too sure either for a while. It was right around episodes 3 and 4 when I started being like, oh, this is big. So I don't know. I'm not comfortable. Okay. I don't think this is gonna be just a walk in the park. This is She-Hulk.
Attorney at law. Attorney at
Right.
law.
I think it's a good way to end it. This is She-Hulk. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Krystal, for joining us. And we'll see you all next week.